Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today is the best day of the month, the first Monday video of the month, LMIAY. And that means I gave you a prompt last month. You guys have answered in kind, and we are going to explore the way that your guys' minds work and maybe talk about a bit of therapy. Because if anybody knows anything about writing, it's that we discover a lot about each other. Through reading each other's work. Let's be real. How many of us have not read a book and been like, author, are you okay? Grady Hendrix, I'm looking at you. Shadiversity, I'm looking at you. Sam Fenna, I'm looking at you. The list goes on. There have been a lot. And you know what? Even Judy Blume, considering Thursday's video, check out Thursday's video, BT dubs, when we're talking about one of Judy Blume's books, because it will leave you going, Judy Blume, are you okay? But that's beside the point. We are going to get into what you guys have done for writing, what you guys have done for therapy. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. You keep me going literally and figuratively and metaphorically. And what else can I put on there? Abstractly, and I'm sure there are other words. Please add some in the chat. The second thing is, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down into the description below. The LMIAY for October is up. Get it on if you might consider wanting to be in this showcase of creativity and personal trauma. Next month. Let's say it is now available to check out what is next month. The second way to be featured is through the Fresh Meat feature, where if you are an indie author with a book out or a book that is coming out, if you submit your first chapter and your cover, it'll be right here on the channel to hopefully help more readers find your work, because trust me, they are out there. I may be the person, I may not be the person, but the least I can do is share what I can of what y'all are working on, and hopefully readers that are looking for that genre, that are drawn in by that beautiful cover, by your majestic or snappy or majestic and snappy prose, will then go and consume all of it and be like, this is exactly what I was looking for deep in my heart. I didn't even know, but thank you. I have found some great work through reading the Fresh Meat feature, and there is so much variety on that list. The third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my books, they're available at any of your favorite places to get books, including the local library upon request. My newest novel, Body More Zero, is coming out in October, featuring these fine gentlemen to my left. And I love them dearly, so I hope that you will enjoy their journeys. The journey you go to together. With that said, let's jump into this. Without further ado, what was the LMIAY for last month? Well, it started out very specific, which was inserting a bear into a scene of your manuscript, whether it's a posted, published, or unpublished, whether it's, a whip or not a whip. But then I broadened the spectrum to just having a story that contains a bear, because my initial consideration for it was throwing literally a bear into your story, like throwing a monkey wrench into your plans. I just wanted to drop a vicious bear into your story, and hey, maybe it'd be a cocaine bear. Who knows? But then I figured maybe some people would like to participate in LMIAY but don't have a whip or a published book, so then I just expanded it to be any story as long as there's a bear in it. So it could be a story of your whip, or an upcoming story, or a story that already exists and throw a bear in it. Or it could be something fresh. So I wanted to broaden it just in case for other people. Also, in case you didn't know, I love bears. They have been my favorite animal since I was a child. I can't tell you why. My first stuffed animal was a bear. And ever since I was a child, I've always collected bears, to the point that I've had to give away so many bears because I don't have enough room for all the stuffed animal bears. I used to get stuffed animal bears everywhere I went. I freaking went, when I met Sam in 2012 for the first time, I came back with like 5 or 6 different, had to be 6. We went to like a zoo. We went another place where I got another little polar bear stuffed animal. And then I know I got 3 gloomy bears at a convention. That was when my gloomy bear addiction started. I have like 9 or 10 gloomy bear items now. Somehow I have less gloomy bears than I do Majima, though. My Majima merch You know what? I'm counting my Kiryu stuff in there too. Okay, I have some Yakuza stuff. It's like that collection happened fast. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I collect bears. I love bears. You can't see it. There is a gloomy bear back there that somebody gave me. You can sort of see it. So I do. With that said, let's get into this. Let's see what you guys bear with me. Barreling through these submissions. The first one is by John Morey. Chapter 1. A flash and shuffle of Asteria Silvertongue's cards got the crowd's attention while the vivid red and blue of her scales held it. With her long tail coiled beneath the table, the serpentine gambler put on a show. The crisp seaside breeze mixed with warm sun as the morning rose over the city of Saria, and a food cart nearby filled the market air with the sense of sizzling meat and spice. The serpent lady delivered a practiced pitch, her enticing voice ringing out over the bustling of the marketplace and the clink of silver in her cash box. Come on, come on. You know you want to give it a try. She fanned the cards and flipped them, effortlessly flicking them in the air and back into her hand. Test your luck, test your skill, test your hand, will ya? Maybe you'll win a little, maybe you'll lose, but it's all in good fun. Care to try your luck? A saucy glance, a turn of a phrase, a simple gesture, and the crowd was hers. Asteria's garter snake heritage gave her flashy colors fit for a grander performance than a card table, but she made it her stage. People, cards, and money passed through her table in a daily cycle of silver, showmanship, and scales. She was in her element, and today the pickings were good. All right, all right. Let's see who we've got for the next game. Any new players? Yes, you there. Join the table. Okay, there's two. Can we get a third? Yes, you there. Come on, I won't bite. 3-on-1, playing against the house. Can we make it 4? 4 players to fill the table. 4 equal chances to win. She noticed the guardsman in the corner of her eye. Ah, hello, sir, guardsman. Care to join in as well? There's room at the table. Guardsman Barrett Gregor, a man who looked like he might have been born in his uniform, cleared his throat. He looked at the serpent, her playing cards, her hat, her jewelry, and the image that she projected before she shook her head. Wait, what's that? All heads turned to the most unexpected and amazing thing imaginable. A bear, big, bumbling, and rotund. This massive grizzly barreled its way into the marketplace, and the people screamed and panicked. Look out! The guardsman shouted as he moved quickly, trying to usher people away from the large animal. Don't get any closer, it's dangerous! Wait, what the hell? Asteria asked. No, screw this, I'm not playing. Huh? Gregor asked. She slapped her cards on the table and pointed upward and forward toward me, to the author. You! Just what do you think you're doing? I get that we're on revision 4 or 5 of this first chapter, but this isn't in the outline. Are there even any bears in this city? In this climate, huh? I blink. Wait, are you talking to me? Yeah, you, Mr. Author. What the shit is wrong with you? The bear stopped rampaging. The people stopped panicking. The guardsman put his hands in his pockets. I said, it's for a contest. A what? Asteria asked. There's this YouTube thing. They have a prompt and I write short stories, and this month is, so you're telling me that you are willing to sacrifice your artistic integrity for some internet clout? Is that it? Just screw with the whole story for what? 3 likes on Facebook? What the hell is wrong with you? It's not the real story. She flicked her tail and rolled her eyes. Who the hell cares? Look, we've been over this. I make fun of the guards in this scene. Then there's a dig site and running from the mob, and I fall in love with the paladin guy and have to reconcile with my shady past. And none of that is happening if you've thrown a damn bear into the scene just for shits and giggles. So can we stick to the damn script? But this isn't going to be in the final draft. I can't believe this, Asteria said, rubbing her forehead. I just can't. You're the worst. Hey, that's not fair. You did make me look like an idiot in my very first scene, Barrett Gregor said, and half of the time the narration calls me Barrett, and the other half of the time it calls me Gregor. Could you please just choose whether we're going for first or last name? See, even he agrees that you're a hack. Now, put the bear away and let's get back to this draft. Come on, I make both of you look good by the end of the book, I protested. And that's not the point. You've got character development. Ooh, character development. Be still, my beating heart, she said with another roll of her eyes. Sure, fine, whatever. It's not like you haven't been pounding away at this manuscript for the last 3 years until all of your friends think that you have a snake fetish. But go ahead. Just throw away all of your hard work for a meme. You know what? Screw it. I can't work under these conditions. I'm going back to my trailer. Just package the book the way it is now and put it on Amazon. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Wait, I tried to protest, but Asteria had already begun to leave. See you in the sequel, she said as she slithered away off of the page and out of sight. Silence covered the marketplace. So, what now? Barrett asked. She's really mad this time, man. I don't know if you can talk her down, even with a raise. I think I have an idea, I said after a moment of hesitation. The big, bumbling bear slowly approached Asteria's card table, sat down behind it, and dealt himself a game of solitaire. Coming soon. Card Bear. The spin-off series. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you have to, talk to Asteria. John. I'm sorry. But you know, it does give you a funny story, you know, for the reunion episode. And the bear is brought onto the couch across the room, and the drama starts. You're not even a real character. You are in it for a meme. Thank you for doing that. Pretty much was the goal of the thing, was to make whatever's really ridiculous, because clearly throwing a bear into an already established scene is going to completely change the scene if you acknowledge the bear. There's also, you know, doing the Shakespeare where you just have the bear run across the scene and then you just continue. But what fun. Also, I know that this is a book coming out in September, this month as we go. So if anybody is interested in getting to know Asteria and the true story of Barrett that makes it into the final cut, or to see if the bear makes it into the final cut, look up his card snake, John Morey, on Amazon. Also, obviously, as normal. Links are all in the description below for anybody who has provided links and who is also featured. Thank you for submitting. The next story is by Mae Tanner. Tave glared at Veretta. Sartho tells me that you're responsible for disrupting his plans to find the feral that killed Finglor. Veretta hung her head. I didn't mean to do that. You still did. What could have possessed you to bring a weapon into the beloved's presence? You're not only betrayed us, you betrayed all of us. Tave rose to her feet. You are not welcome here. Take your belongings and find somewhere else to live. She pointed to the door. I asked Sartho to assign a pair of scouts to escort you out of town. They're waiting for you outside. Tears welled up in Veretta's eyes. She fought to keep them from spilling over. What about my family? Tave shrugged. They are welcome to remain. You are the one who betrayed us. Veretta hung her head. Can I ever come back? Is there anything that I could do to earn your forgiveness? Tave snorted. I'll forgive you if you bring me to the head of the feral who murdered my son. Now go. Outside the door, a pair of scouts moved to her side. One bowed. Since you arrived here today, you should have all your possessions with you. I left a few things on the transport. Veretta wiped her eyes. We had to abandon most of our possessions in the hive. That was my fault too, I suppose. Very well. Once you have your things, we'll escort you out of town. He snickered. You're lucky it's spring here. You'd have a hard time surviving if it were autumn, like on Caprilon. They left the building where Veretta met with Tave and headed toward the pile of baggage near where the transport had arrived. She found the pack with her belongings and slipped it on. As the scout marched her away from the pile of baggage, a blond man stopped them. Where are you going? A scout eyed the man. We're taking her out of town. Tave banished her from our settlement. Why? The scout sighed. A feral killed Tave's son. She asked us to kill it and bring her its head. We couldn't do that because we'd have to speed up our evacuation of the hive, and she's furious. That was Veretta's fault. The Dearborn caught her with a dagger in a beloved's presence. The blond man glanced from face to face. I see. He turned and rejoined the other Rindali, who had come from the mines. The scouts urged Veretta toward the nearest streets out of town. When they reached the edge of town, they continued north, past plowed fields. Once they were there and well away from the settlement, the scouts stopped. "You're on your own now. Keep walking as long as you can." That night, Veretta slept under the tree at the edge of the clearing. She awoke to something stroking her injured hand. Her eyes flew open. Standing over her was a large animal with mottled fur and rounded ears. She scrambled to her feet. It licked her arm and yawned, revealing sharp teeth. She backed away from it, stomping where she hit a tree. She'd seen pictures of similar animals. They were called bears. She'd never dreamed bears were so large. The creature's head was level with her own. Veretta turned, leapt to grab a low-hanging branch and climbed onto it. The bear squalled. Something crashed through the undergrowth, and another bear emerged into the clearing. The new bear's head was almost as big as the first bear's body. The creature reared up on its hind legs and roared. Veretta scrambled up the tree until she was out of the bear's reach. The monstrous bear slammed its paws against the trunk and the tree shredded. Veretta desperately wrapped both arms and legs around the trunk as the top of the tree jerked back and forth. Two more small bears tumbled into the clearing as the monster bear grabbed the tree and shook it. For the next couple of hours, the bear raged around the clearing, pausing occasionally to shake the tree while the small bears wrestled with each other. Eventually, the monster bear became less agitated. It cuffed the small bears, and the four wandered off. Veretta remained in the tree, drenched in sweat with her heart racing. She pressed her cheek against the tree trunk and sobbed. How could she survive on her own when there were such dangerous animals in the woods? Veretta waited an hour after the bears had left before she climbed down. She'd starve if she stayed in the tree. Since she'd been heading north, she continued in that direction, jumping at the slightest sound. She'd barely left the clearing when the bush behind her rustled. Her eyes wide, she scrambled to the nearest tree to climb as high as she could. The rustling grew louder. Whatever was causing it was coming closer. Veretta pressed her face against the tree trunk. The sounds stopped. She closed her eyes. "Veretta?" She peered down. A group of Rundali stood at the base of the tree, gazing up at her. "What are you doing in a tree?" the blond man asked. She swallowed. "There are bears here. They're gigantic." "There's safety in numbers. You rescued us from the mines. We want to help you survive. What about Tave? Wouldn't she be angry with you?" The blond man shrugged. "We just told her that we want to build a second village. What she doesn't know won't hurt us." Veretta slipped down the trunk. The man reached up and helped her out of the tree. He smiled at her. "We'll continue north until we find a suitable spot to build our settlement. How does that sound to you?" "It sounds good. I've seen you before, but I don't know your name." "We never got introduced. My name is Lyrion." Great introduction. Also, I have to say, because I've been reading some stuff, okay? And this scene has so much more like motivation, so much more involvement for the characters than some of the actual published, like traditionally published books that I've read recently. This involves the characters interacting with each other, making choices, interacting with the environment, having investment in what's going on, much more than some of the other things that I have read recently. And it is so refreshing. Like, just seeing characters respond to each other and the environment is insanely refreshing. I also don't blame her for being both excessively spooked and upset. One, at being banished. Two, at being attacked by a bear. It is very frightening, okay? Fair. The next story is by Ben Hayward. Welcome back. The flash from the magnesium lit the tent up with a vivid green light dozens of times. The small pudgy girl sat on her father's lap and began to cry. Daddy, I'm blind." "No, you're not, dear. It will pass." The girl started writhing around, wrestling with her father. Her feet were swinging defensively like an animal cornered. After one kick to his torso, his face contorted from a loving caregiver to a swirling mass of silent agony. His lips curled over his teeth, and his cheeks puffed out. "It will, won't it?" he hissed to Antonio. Antonio nodded from behind the camera, then realized that the man probably could not see him. "Yes, it will. It's only temporary." The little girl started rubbing her eyes. "I want to go home. I want to see." "Soon, Clarissa, soon." The man blinked heavily. A look of recognition returned to his eyes. He wrestled his flailing child over his shoulder and slowly arched himself forward. A flicker of pain crossed his face as he stood up straight. He lumbered his feet toward Antonio. 5 watts, wasn't it? Yes. If you could give me your address here, I can deliver the picture to you once it's developed. Pardon me? I need to take the negatives home. Then you will use them to create a photograph. I promised my daughter that she could have her picture taken on her birthday. I could give you the negatives now, but they would be ruined, Antonio replied. Why? They can't be exposed to sunlight. Antonio passed the gentleman a slip and a pen and opened his palm for payment. Grudgingly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out 5 brass coins. Try to get it to us as soon as possible. I will. As the father and daughter pair left the tent, Antonio could see a bear held in restraint in a cage. Children seemed to be ritually running at it and teasing it one by one in a game of chicken. Excuse me. He turned around to see who had asked the question. A beautiful creature stood at the mouth of his tent. A waterfall of golden curls washed down her smooth, unblemished face. He felt the muscles in his throat constrict, and he lost all sense of time, drowning in the water of her vivid green eyes. Are pictures still being taken? She asked furtively. Yes. Come inside. As she entered the tent, she drew the curtain across the tent, casting them both in shadows. Only small shreds of light danced through the gaps, searing through the darkness. Her wicked green eyes watched the entrance with trepidation. Have you ever had your picture taken before? Yes, many times. Oh, really, that's... She shot him a glance that silenced him immediately. He positioned himself behind the camera, whipped the cloak over his back, and pulled down the magnesium cord. He looked over the camera, and she had gently arched her back, looking away from the camera toward the entrance. In most of his pictures, Antonio found that people stared directly at the camera with grim expressions, like they were not long from the grave. But she had a devil-may-care look writ across her face. He took the negative and stored it away before loading the next magnesium canister. As he pulled it down, there was a mighty crash. Instinctively, he checked the equipment. Nothing was broken. He checked the negative before storing it. It was unblemished, and the woman was smiling. Then he heard the screams outside. He whipped open the curtain and saw that the bear had broken free of both the restraints and the cage. Now it was busy chasing the children that had been taunting it earlier. 2 of them lay on the floor, their bodies twisted and broken. He looked back at the woman to ensure that she was safe. You should worry more about him than me, she said flatly. He was torn. There was an uncomfortable urge within him to use his body as a shield. He did have paying customers who would be expecting their pictures. Then there was the primal urge to run. Antonio felt stuck, rooted to the ground as the bear pounced on the teenager, tearing their throat out in an instant and then routinely tearing their limbs off and smashing the already muddy ground of the fairgrounds as the ground consumed the dismembered corpse. Then the woman behind him started humming a low harmony, and the creature's frenzy seemed to calm. Her chant was broken up with words he did not recognize. They were almost primal. She approached the center of the fairgrounds. The creature turned, its maw dripping with the blood of its most recently slaughtered youth. Her harmony hit its highest octave, and she embraced it like a lover. It nuzzled into her breast. The bear seemed to have gentled. A thought occurred to Antonio. The people would not want to miss the moment. He loaded a canister in his camera and carefully aimed it at the couple, and then pulled the cord. A snap of white-green light went off. As he looked up, the bear was gently pulling away from the woman and began to bound toward him, fury in his eyes. With effortless strength, he leapt from the ground and landed squarely on Antonio's chest. There was a dull pain in his right shoulder. In an instant, he knew that something was broken. The creature raised his claw, and then the low harmony began once again. Antonio, did you survive? That man is going in for the shot. Great setup for this also, by the way, and bringing in the woman, and hopefully the woman is like, you know what? You took a great picture of my child, my kin, my friendo, the bear. Also, you don't taunt the wildlife. Look, maybe if you weren't a dick, the bear wouldn't have killed your kids. I'm just saying. A little bit of manners goes a long way. That's just how it be. Great setup, Ben Hayward. I love the stuff that you submit. even if I don't get to read it every time. The next story is by Mike Vanhoose. Wiley, hurry and come to bed. It's freezing in here. Emelina called as loud as she dared. Charlotte was a light sleeper, even more so tonight. The thought of Santa Claus and a reindeer had her on full alert. Any noise would bring her running where the gangly cedar bush stood half decorated with popcorn garland and a tinfoil star. She showed Charlotte how to bake cookies and where to leave them atop the mantel. Her stocking hung empty, ready to accept a small handful of walnuts, peppermint sticks, and orange that St. Nick brought for the occasion. In a second. I still have things to gather and the fire needs stoked. We'll be needing an extra log or two tonight. I tried to be quiet as I huddled against the night and made way for the barn. Wind whipped fluffy white flakes as they fell in abundance on the already packed ground. Watching my breath cloud around my kerchief, I was half afraid that it would freeze to my face. A path through the calf-deep snow led me to an open door where I'd hidden Charlotte's gift. Buried in tack and burlap, a stuffed bear the size of my daughter waited to be taken inside. Its brown hair fur and green eyes greeted me under the burlap tarp. Beside it, another present, wrapped in Sturgis dry goods, best striped silk wrapping paper lay hidden. Blue and white bands crisscrossed in a small box tied with a silk bow on top. It was a secret gift that only I knew about. Stuffing the box inside of my coat pocket, I cradled the bear in my arms and made my way back through the night. A pile of chopped wood poked from beneath the fresh blanket of snow. I grabbed as much as I could and fought to open the door without waking Charlotte. "Did you get her present?" Emelina whispered from our bedroom. "Yes, ma'am." I pulled the bear from beneath my coat and placed it on the foot of the tree. Its tanned face and wide eyes reflected the warmth of the fire. I poked and prodded coals, making room for more logs. I piled as many as I dared and pulled the screen shut. I would need to get up one more time through the night to refuel, but that was a few hours away. Stretching my back, I hung my coat beside the door and slid a small box inside of my pants, hoping that Emelina didn't see it. Santa's cookies rested on our chest china plate, with a fresh glass of milk. I bit into one and read Charlotte's note as I finished Santa's glass of milk. "Dear Santa, I've been a mostly good girl this year, and I would like to have a stuffed bear like the one Old Man Sturgis's storefront window, the one with the green eyes and the brown hair. I'm sorry for the times that I was mean to Tommy Willis, but he deserved it. Please leave Ma and Pa something nice. Love, Charlotte Eubanks," I whispered to Emelina as I walked into our bedroom. "Did you read Charlotte's note?" "Of course. I helped her with the spelling. Did you put the bear where she could find it?" I nodded, my hand cradling the unseen extra gift in my pocket. "Yep. I found this outside when I went to the barn. Not sure who it belongs to." The delicate box looked even more so as I handed it to Emelina. I could see her surprise. "Wiley, you didn't." "Shh. You'll wake Charlotte. Open it." I took a seat on the bed beside her. Her fingers rubbed the silk paper and ribbon as if it were a living thing, in need of caressing. Pulling the ribbon, it fell off the top, the double wedding ring quilt her mother had given us on our wedding bed. She picked it up, letting it play between her fingers. "This'll make a pretty hair tie, thank you." Spreading the paper, not wanting to tear it, Emelina looked at the crushed black velvet box that had been hidden inside. "Oh, Wiley, you shouldn't have." I laughed. "You haven't even opened it yet. You may hate it." "I know, but whatever is in it, I'm sure I'll love it." Pulling at the lid, Emelina peeked into the tiny opening. Gasping, she opened the case. A brooch, solid gold, lay pinned on the back. Soft, quiet tears spilled down her red cheeks. "Open it. There's an inscription." I was smiling as much as she was crying. "To my beautiful wife, Emelina, from my loving husband, Wiley, December 25th, 1885. I lost for words. Emelina stammered and cried, "Wiley, I love you so damn much." "I know. I love you too, Em." Pulling the quilt back and offering me the warmth side of the bed, Emelina stood on her knees and kissed me hard. "Take this wrapper off." She put a wrinkled bunch of her nightshirt in my hand. "Your present is underneath." Mike, I'm so surprised that you did something that was like not over the top at all. What an interesting choice. Of all the things that I imagined with a bear, a nice, quiet little Christmas gift story was not what I imagined. But that's not to say that it is a bad thing at all. It's just I did not expect it. And of all things, I did not expect it from you. We know that you like the Taylor Swift and the murder of everybody, and Merrick's balls. Those are and the centipede perspective. We got options. The next story is by Allison Miller. What's going on? Sadie let out a confused whisper. The woods were quiet, and she wasn't sure where her friends had gotten to, or what she'd ingested that had made her hallucinate a bear speaking to her. Hey, you look tasty, the bear said. A little lean compared to your friends, but I might save you for when I go back on my diet. The bear's lips, if bears even had lips, weren't moving, but he was speaking to her. Disney and feminists never prepared her for this. Swallowing hard, she bargained with the bear. Listen, I have cancer, she lied. The bear didn't buy it. I was so full of processed food that I'm pretty sure I'm on LSD at the moment, so maybe you don't eat me if you don't want a bellyache. A shot rang out and the bear ran away. Well, that's one crisis averted, just to fall into another one. An ache tore through her back. Oh, shit! Cried out a young boy. We have to hide her body, said another. I'm still alive, Sadie protested. Something hard came down on her back of her head, and the young men dragged her away, dropping her when they couldn't carry her weight up the hill. Sadie rolled and rolled until she fell into a meadow of dandelions. The flowers poked her wounds, tickling the sinewy insides. Wait, she thought. Wounds. I only have one wound. With what little strength she had, she pushed herself up and tenderly touched the spot between her shoulders. The ache of her fingers lighting on the space sent shock waves of pain through her. A memory with a first-person shooter POV came back. Two people were fighting, and they were always fighting. They got in shoving matches and dropped a bag of green into a fire. Sadie got up and joined the shoving match. She lost when she was shoved into a rock. Scattered footsteps were the last thing that she remembered. Sucks, doesn't it? The bear was back. Why do you sound like T.J. Miller? She asked, backing away. No idea, he said, clapping her paws on her foot and dragging her back. Pinning her head down, he said, You need to do something for me. The people who shot you are going to come back. They might save you, they might kill you, but I need you to disable the bear traps and signal to me when you're done. They've killed too many of my family members. Nothing about this made sense. A shot rang out and the bear ran away. Hands clamped onto her shoulder, and she was dragged into a cabin, restrained to a table, and her wounds cleaned. Hours later, she rolled off the table and fumbled over a switchboard. She flipped all of the switches to off and hobbled out to the sleeping family. The door flew open, and the bear jumped on the two young men, flinging them against a post and then slamming one into the other. The mom attempted to get the gun, but the bear jumped on her and bit her head, crushing it like a watermelon. The dad was on the bear like a rake, but Sadie threw something at him, knocking him down. The bear took that chance and bit the dad in the groin. Oh my God, Sadie exclaimed. The bear turned to her and said, Thanks. Sadie said nothing. That was not some good shit. What a trip. Sadie, I don't know what drugs you took, but questions were had. Questions were had. Absolutely. Good luck on recovery there. Also getting shot. You're pretty spry for a shot one. That's hope for the future at least. The next story is by Egao Chan called Waver. The cloudless sky darkened. The moon was not seen anywhere. The road lights near the empty square in front of the Red Elixir blood bank flickered, barely providing any light. At one corner of the square hovered a portal stabilized by spells and magical artifacts. The two sages of the brand went through into its mysterious pocket dimension with Detective Lena Kaufman and Gimpman. Now, it was a job of the brand's agents to guard it till they came back. Agent Powell conjured 6 marble-sized metal balls. He gave them a quick squeeze before tossing them into the air, and all of them started emitting a light yellow light while floating. All right, everyone keep your eyes sharp. We need to buy them time. Archer here. I am on the residential building beside you. The voice of one particular agent resounded in the comms. Damn, I thought that we lost you. Agent Powell and Sugar Dough exchanged a look with smiles on their faces. "How's Swordmaster?" "He's all right. Might need new swords," Archer responded. "We got your emergency broadcast. Are those all you have?" "Afraid so." Agent Powell looked around. This was already all he could bring here without taking away protections from the civilians. Riley Reese and Vernon Dade, the Kotodama duo, Sugar Dough, and finally Liu Lei, the Kung Fu dumpling man. "Agent Powell incoming from the north," Archer warned. "North! North!" Agent Powell immediately alerted everyone around him as he conjured his longsword. Sugar Dough rubbed his hands. A colorful ball of dough manifested between his palms and grew larger as he pulled his hands apart. With a quick fling, the ball of dough shot into midair and turned into an armored giant warrior wielding battle axes made of glistening brown sugar. Before long, everyone on the ground saw what Archer warned about: a small horde of creatures with muscular humanoid upper bodies and spider, centipede, and scorpion-like lower bodies. Their heads were deformed, their muscles were bulging. One muscular creature with a centipede lower body stood out for its size and the glowing green gem embedded in its forehead. "Everyone ready!" Agent Powell barked. Just before the horde clashed with everyone guarding the portal, they halted midway. All the creatures stood straight and gave Agent Powell and his team a wave. The team waved back at him. From Agent Powell to Riley Reese, the newbie, to even the giant made of dough. "What just happened?" Archer sounded baffled on the comms. "What's that?" "I don't know. It just happened." Chills ran down Agent Powell's spine. "We had no control. Whatever it is, find it." The Brand's Agent Guardians, the portal recovered just slightly earlier than the incoming half-human, half-bug creatures. The dough giant swung its sugar axes across the center of the horde. Vernon Dade delivered an explosive dad joke targeting the left flank. A small flurry of magical arrows hailed from the residential buildings at the creatures. This instantly annihilated 8 out of 10 of those creatures. They looked at each other passionately, and then they banged. Riley Reese pushed herself to deliver her line. At least 10 creatures that were all ready to attack stopped and tried to jump on each other in a sudden mating frenzy. This opened a window for Agent Powell and Ju Li to unleash their sword attacks and kung fu kicks onto them. But before Riley Reese or Vernon Dad could relax, the creature with the gem on its forehead charged at them at incredible speed, knocking Jie Lu and the dough man to the side. Spike long curved bone blades emerged from its 2 palms, one aiming at Vernon Dad and the other aiming at Riley Reese. "Shit!" Agent Powell and Sourdough cursed at the same time. The leader of the horde was way faster than they had expected. But just before the blades with the crooked teeth and spikes would impale the 2 mere humans, the creature stopped and gave them a wave. At the same time, all of the other creatures on the battlefield stood and waved again. Taking advantage of this interruption, Agent Powell leapt forward and thrust at the creature's waist, forcing it to back off. The dough giant pushed it further with an axe swing. It's a bear-like creature at your east. Not fully an animal bear, a bit like a walking teddy bear. It just walks and waves. And when it waves, all of you will wave. "Keep an eye on it. I'll give it a hug later." Agent Powell chuckled as he raised his longsword again. His left hand pulled out a small bottle from his pocket and smashed it on the blade. The sword was engulfed in a silvery blue flame. The creature screeched and lunged at Agent Powell again. The dough giant swung both of its axes at it, but the creature's centipede's lower body just wrapped around the dough arms as the 2 bone blades cleaved through the dough giant's body. Agent Powell's longsword swung at the creature's waist, but was blocked by a bone blade. The metal blade was caught between the spikes while Agent Powell tried to pull back. Another bone blade thrust against his neck. Before his life could flash before his eyes, he loosened his grip and waved at the creature. The creature retracted its bone blades and waved at him at the same time. The creature's body was shaking. It was fighting the effects of the bear. Fighting the effects seemed only to have prolonged it. Agent Powell grabbed his sword once again, while the creature barely put down its waving arms. Before the creature could even move its bone blades, a burning metal blade slashed through its neck. 2 swift slashes followed, severing its arms. "I'll need a bowl of honey for that bear. I've really got to thank it." Agent Powell spoke to Archer through the comms, panting. "It's going away, waving on its way. You'd better hurry." I love the creativity that you always bring, Egao. And we brought back the Gimp Man, Agent Lena. We got Vernon Dad and Riley Reeves, which I don't think that I have been formally introduced yet, but I am assuming those are the people that you had Sam draw some time ago, because the dad joke and the Yowie fangirl, I recognize those. And it's always just such fun. Also, the bear, again, we go with the teddy bear, the bear bad guy, barely, look, to be fair, when it's a teddy bear, it is barely a bad guy. More dad jokes. I'm down for the dad joke character, okay? Always a pleasure. The next story is by KawaiiGroovyCat. Welcome back. I'd like to think that I was a good person when I was alive. I prayed every night to a god my parents told me to pray to. Hell, I practically sold my soul to him. That's how devoted I was. I even vowed not to make love to my girlfriend until she became my wife. See right there? I even said make love to instead of fuck. I truly am a man of God through and through. And what did I get in return when I died? A rejection letter from him after waiting about a month in purgatory, stating that while we would love to be able to welcome every worthy soul into heaven, the limitation of space means that we have to make some very difficult decisions about how many souls to take on. I immediately called bullshit on that excuse. If you ask me, I just think that God didn't want my soul because he thought that it was dirty. Despite never having sinned in my life, I ended up falling victim to a vampire's attack on our village, and unfortunately, I wasn't one of the survivors. I don't even think that any of us managed to get into heaven. But putting that aside, there was no way that I was going to spend the rest of my afterlife in a boring place like this, so I said fuck it and decided to just go to hell instead. To the devil's credit, he didn't reject me when I knocked on his door, but when I got a peek inside of his house, I almost immediately regretted my decision. As he led me into his office, I caught glimpses of the mountains upon mountains of Sunny D bottles all over the floor, the furniture, and even the kitchen and the bathroom sinks. Satan took a seat at his desk, positioning himself so to draw attention to his 72-pack, and then motioned to me to sit in a chair across from him. "So," he began, squinting and seemingly studying my face, even though the only interesting feature about it was the earrings that I was wearing. "Who are you, anyway?" "God didn't fill you in," I replied. "For what it's worth, my name is Lucas, and apparently I'm not good enough for heaven according to the big guy upstairs." The devil opened a drawer behind him and shifted through it, presumably looking for some kind of file, before simply giving up and shaking his head. "God didn't send me jack nor squat about you. What did you even do? That's what I want to know. All it said in the rejection letter was that heaven was too crowded to let me in or some shit." Satan winced. "Ah, yes. God really ain't too fond of you, kid. He just can't name a specific sin to reject you for." "All I did was get killed when a vampire attacked my village," I said. Satan sighed. "Yeah, that's the kind of thing that gets overlooked. But hey, don't let it get you down. Hell's not as bad as it seems. Well, unless you got a specific punishment in mind. Otherwise, welcome to Mikasa, I guess." I stared at him, trying to piece together what exactly that meant. The devil's office looked like it hadn't been cleaned in eons, with dust gathering in ancient tomes and the occasional fire-breathing imp flitting around. The sunny demeanor of Satan didn't quite fit the bill of a torturer. Thanks," I said. "But I don't really have anything in mind as far as punishment goes. I didn't do anything wrong." Satan's eyes sparkled with a glint of mischief. "Well, if you're up for it, I could use a new ruling partner. You see, I'm retiring." My eyes widened. "Retiring? You're the devil. How does one retire from being the devil?" "It's a long story," Satan said, reclining in his chair with a grin. "But let's just say that I've done a lot of self-reflection, and gosh, this place is a shithole. God's a bastard, there's too much goddamn paperwork to do, and my roommate's gone bonkers. I can't deal with her and rule over this place at the same time. There really isn't enough Sunny D in hell to drink my sorrows away, you know? Even with the mountains of bottles piling up inside?" Satan nodded. "I need a vacation, and in all honesty, I'm more than ready to pass on the title." Again, "You are literally the devil," I said. "How can someone just retire? Hell, how can anyone just become the devil?" I'm so very glad that you asked, Satan said with a dramatic flourish. There's a special process for that sort of thing. It involves a duel. A duel? I asked, puzzled. Yes, a duel, with the reigning ruler of hell, Satan confirmed. And since I've been running things for a while, that would be me. I took a moment to absorb the absurdity of the situation. So you're saying that I have to duel you to take over as the ruler of hell? Sort of, he replied. Not literally me, but someone that I've nominated to champion my cause. It's a hell tradition. If someone challenges me for my title, they must defeat my knight in single combat. Just as he finished speaking, the office door burst open and a massive bear with a top hat and monocle sauntered in. It was holding a scepter in one paw and looked rather dignified. Allow me to introduce you to Sir Boris, Satan said in a grand gesture. He's been the reigning champion of the bear duels for a few centuries now. The bear growled, apparently in a very refined manner, and took a bow. I gulped. All right, a duel with a bear. I guess that's my first challenge? Satan clapped his hands together, apparently excited. Excellent! I'll even let you pick out a weapon of your choice for the duel. Just know that Sir Boris is well versed in many styles of combat. I took a moment to carefully ponder my decision. I choose no weapons, I said. I'll wrestle him instead. Oh-ho! Satan seemed somewhat surprised. I nodded. I'm something of a hometown hero, or at least I was. I just so happened to be the reigning champion of wrestling matches in my village. He laughed, stretching and cracking his knuckles. All right, then. Let's see if you've got what it takes to take over as the next Satan. By the way, I said, if Satan's just your title, what's your real name? It's Fizzlepop von Dinglefluff, he replied. But let's not get too caught up with names, huh? There's a duel to be fought. The shed of hell reverberated with anticipation as Sir Boris, a towering beast of raw power, roared menacingly. I stood across from him, my heart racing, knowing this wrestling match was my path to the throne. He charged with surprising speed, his massive paws aiming at me. I dodged, rolling out of his way and coming up to a low crouch. The bear's growl filled the room as he swiped at me with a furious force. I sidestepped, narrowly avoiding the claws, and braced myself for his next move. With a burst of adrenaline, I lunged at Sir Boris, tackling him around the midsection. He roared, muscles rippling as he tried to throw me off, and I gripped his fur, using all of my weight to leverage him to pull him down. The bear thrashed, his powerful limbs battering the ground, but I held on, trying to find a firm hold. His efforts to shake me off only fueled my determination. I maneuvered to his side, wrapping my arms around his torso in a bear hug, pressing him against the ground. The bear struggled, his growls turning into strained grunts as he tried to break free. I tightened my grip, using my legs to anchor us both down. With sheer willpower, I kept him pinned. His resistance waned, his movements slowing until he lay still beneath me. Breathing heavily, I stood victoriously over the subdued Sir Boris. The minions of hell erupted into bears, their voices echoing through the chambers. Fizzlepop's voice, now just a faint whisper, offering congratulations as his final act of ruler was concluded. I walked to the throne, my steps confident. The power of hell seemed to embrace me as I took my place. The throne glowing with the infernal fire, acknowledging the new ruler. The energy of hell surged through me. The responsibility and the title of Satan, now officially mine. The throne's fiery glow intensified, and the realm of hell began to shift and change, responding to the new order. I gazed out over my dominion, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead. As for my first order of business, cleaning up the damn house. As I made my way back to the main building, one question rattled endlessly in my mind. Why did I even do this? I mean, like, this is the start of an isekai. We have decided, by we, I mean I have decided, heaven and hell are isekais. This is the beginning of an isekai story. You die, you get teleported to another realm, and now you have to figure out how you fit into that realm, and then this guy just became king of hell. So, I mean, we are tracking for isekai right now. Why did you even do this? Well, the question is, will Sir Boris now be your friend, your pet, your confidante, your servant to sick on people. I also see that we have a couple, I think it's been a couple of months now where we've gotten hell stories, and I love your hell stories, GroovyCat. They are very fun. Also, good luck on your vacation, Drizzle Pop. As appropriate, real title, real name over here, no title. The next story is by Jason Drake. Welcome. This story is called The Bare Necessity. It's got a bear in it. The first auto that I've seen in months that actually might run, and there's a bear inside. I took this scout gig to escape the damn bunker that I call home. Joining this cult after the virus broke out, the virus cult wars, two sentient microscopic viruses battling for dominance indifferent to the casualties. As my boy Andrew used to say before he was lost at 16, we humans were mere bystanders in a war that we had no part in. One viral faction of the cosmos and the other from Earth, both awakened by the invaders. Turns out that we weren't the top of the food chain. The craziest part? Wildlife and domesticated animals were affected, but not in the same way as humans. They mutated, not deformed, but smarter and larger. The generations that followed only got bigger and smarter. The bear in the SUV is a prime specimen, a big daddy among the muties. Tubes, we can hear you. The mic of your communicator is on. There's a guy sitting in front of the SUV. The one with the bear in it? Yup. About a foot in front of it, just sitting cross-legged like he's meditating. The ledge that I stood on crumbled as I descended toward the highway. I could hear the SUV's shocks squeaking as the giant bear rummaged inside. What now? Yo, Your Holiness, I'm getting ready to let Yogi out over here, so you might want to wrap it up. I'm sure that he'll make a beeline for the easiest meal. Tubes, what are you doing? What? His Holiness? What's he doing? Weller, can it? You know that I don't like conversation when scouting. For someone who doesn't like talking, Tubes, you sure do it a lot. Tubes out. Weller's right. I do talk a lot. To myself. A bad habit. I need to remember to cut the communicator mic when I'm not reporting. Hey, buddy, I'm not waiting here for nightfall. Okay, well, I guess that's my answer. Now to see about getting that big fellow. Oh, hello there. Guess you weren't stuck in there after all. Ah, shit. Weller, what's the status of Tubes in the vehicle? Tubes is gone, sir. What do you mean? No, sir. A bear got him. I'm reviewing the visual transmission from the 360 vid X7 and making field notes now. Well, switch on the recording, Weller. The bear is quite stealthily exiting the vehicle. Tubes is distracted. The bear is smiling? Oh, holy shit! Yeah, pretty brutal, sir. The bear is removing his gear as gently as a mother getting her child ready for bath time. This is definitely new behavior. Yes, sir, and Tubes' distraction is coming into view. Who is that? And what's with the robes? Don't know, sir, but he's taking Tubes' field jacket. It gets cold out there at night. Maybe some new group is living in the mountains? For Christ's sake, he's taken the vehicle, too. Yes, sir. Okay, Wellers, put out an order. I want the vultures out to retrieve the communicator and the remaining gear. Then I want scouts tracking the vehicle. Yes, sir. And when you're done with that and the field notes, go on down and get yourself some chow. The cooks have outdone themselves with the last supply run. Mincemeat pies and pastries. Any bear claws, sir? Nice, Weller. Nice. I want that field report on my desk first thing in the morning. I like that these guys have this sense of humor while also their comrade had just died, but also it shows a level of how disposable this team is in general with whatever this world situation is. Also, that it seems like the meditating guy. So I'm thinking of the fish that has like the lure on it. And so then we obviously heard that the animals mutated and were smarter. And so now I'm imagining the meditating guy being a lure that's connected to the bear that got the guy out there so the bear could attack it. I don't know, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Also, the humor in this, your humor is very obvious to me at least. The next story is by R.S. Alessi. Once upon a time, there was a bear named David. He was not a particularly nice bear, nor an attractive one, but that's not relevant to the story. He was lazy, too, and that's incredibly relevant. Foraging in the woods for food was never David's thing. He gave it up soon after Mama Bear kicked him out of the den. No, David much preferred upending garbage cans in town, a system that worked until the town installed bear-proof bins. Suddenly, David was confronted with an uncomfortable truth. He was shitty at being a bear. No one likes to learn something like that about themselves. So David put it out of his mind and went snuffling around in search of his favorite treat, Cool Ranch Doritos. The small town where David foraged for trash was nestled in the Great Smoky Mountains, famous for its majestic mountain view, lovely hiking trails, and Airbnb log cabins available for rent. It was to one of those cabins that David's nose led him. He scratched at the door, but it didn't open. He stuck his head through the doggy door, and the rest of him didn't fit. He pawed through the screened window and sliced right through it. An oomph and a flump later, and he was inside. More sniffling led him to the pantry. He put his snout into the bag of cornmeal, but it didn't taste good. He sliced open a box of noodles, but those tasted no better. Finally, he located a party-sized bag of Cool Ranch Doritos and ripped it right up. He was a happy bear. All that snuffling and wandering about was more work than David had done since Mama Bear made him catch fish in the river, and he was ready for a nap. He circled the pantry floor and lay down. A few minutes later, he realized that the floor was much harder than his normal bed of dirt and leaves, so he padded into the living room, hoping to find something better. The sofa was soft, but not nearly big enough, even after he sank his claws into the cushions and pushed out all of the stuffing. He crept up the stairs to the loft, and there was a big and soft bed. He climbed into the middle of it and went right to sleep. David made the mistake of choosing a cabin rented by hillbillies. He's now a rug decorating their gunroom floor. The end. Well, I was expecting the opposite of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I mean, technically, I guess this could be the bear, Brownie Locks, and the three hillbillies. Poor David. He just wanted his Cool Ranch chips and a freaking nap, okay? Who doesn't like to pig out on food that you shouldn't eat that much of, but you do anyway? You just sit there and you are absent-mindedly eating a bag of Doritos until your hand suddenly hits the bottom of the bag of Doritos, and you're like, I'm just gonna put that over there. There's still like 3 servings in there, right? It's 1 serving, but you tell yourself it's 3 so you feel better about it. And then you take a nap, which you dream that you're exercising to work off those calories. Who hasn't? Who hasn't been there? Do we not deserve to be turned into a rug in some hillbilly's living room? Michael? I'm not calling you a hillbilly, but we need your opinion. You know who you are, okay? No, that is not at anybody specific. It's just... Michael is a very common name, okay? We have a good chance. Anyway, thank you for submitting, Ruth. I appreciate that. The final story is by Ash. Welcome. This story is called Capturing a Butterfly. We're called bears because we're big and hairy, but this sun bear is docile, closer to the average height, and known for his long tongue. I frequent the floral meets of bees to get a sniff of honey, but mostly I'm surrounded by butterflies. Mating season never ends in these humid lands, and the males are always fencing. In walks a monarch that stirs petty rivals. Bluebottles flash their stripes, swallowtails dash away at the last minute, and painted ladies may as well curtsy because he never breaks his stride. This new monarch is more than svelte. He's a tanned snack from Hostess on a protein powder diet. With a lick of liquid courage, I step into the jungle that is a gay night's dance floor. I walk past the lions and the tigers, and oh my, does this tricep poppin' beauty captivate. A true artiste, the monarch flies at his own rhythm. I fall back to my sad little hip and shoulder shimmy until I'm close enough to bite through the tension. Hello, handsome. Can I buy you a good time? Would you like to give me mine? Wing-like lashes fan away distraction. One quick once over and he's over it. You're not good enough to date me. I'm dying inside, and he's already looking elsewhere. My tiny ounce of pride deflates like a balloon untied, letting out air with a meek, I'm not, but I'd be grateful. Wonder of wonders, Monarch looks at me head on. It's a little down for him, but at least he doesn't raise his chin. What was that? Bold, I step forward, to show him that I am not a complete waste of time. I said I'd be grateful. There are worse ways to work off your tension, believe me. This smile cracks his lips, and he has charmed me breathless. Why don't we start with drinks? I may not be a gentleman, but I'm flushed enough to pay. The blushing bartender mouths a compliment about my new beau because he thinks jokes from 20 years ago are funny, and I do likewise because I'm equally antiquated. We float past the honeysuckles and milkweeds outside, and that glorious monarch shares my night. Within 10 minutes, it's clear that I'm a free drink, but when he's still around at the hour that we've got friends to share my pity, we exchange hugs and numbers, and he leaves me by my lonesome. Still, I've learned his name is Declan, so at least I've got something. It's not the first time that I drive home and fall asleep researching anatomy. Declan's there next week, and his new friend gives advice. We talk style and pickup lines, and he's more interested in gossip than the length of the proboscis. For over a month, this behavior lingers on. He's soon a friend of my friends, and I'm wondering if my hope still has light. Then in walks Kev, a little pick-me moth, drawn to every open flame. Declan is clearly better than that, but apparently not, because within 20 minutes, Kev is in his car. My big tongue licks salt off the rim of every margarita in a 50-foot radius. The next day, my super platonic bestie is checking to see if we're cool, and I'm lying through gifts, congratulating him on a notch. My new diet requires more electrolytes than a bottle of Haterade, and so I supplement with spice. Of course, I'm not surprised to find that the monarch brought his floating to ghostly proportions. After not hearing from him for 3 days, it comes as no surprise when he doesn't come to the club, but Kev does. All of my chewing has my teeth sharp enough to puncture, and so I venture over to Kev and test my curved claws. His bark is brittle from the rain. It's easy to peel off the top and to see the rot underneath. Suddenly, I'm foaming with rabies. Come with me and I'll give you something to cry about. The little bug tries to be smug, but he flattens his drab wings at the sight of my teeth. Timid, Kev whispers, "Don't be kind." There's no risk of that. Back at my apartment, I make him draft my epitaph. Here lies Declan's last conquest. It's not Kev that has me sweating with frustration. He's a mere vessel for me to tear open, and all of his tears don't lessen my attack. I punish his assumption that pretty smiles last longer than lies. He forgets Declan and suffers from my anger. I work hard to hide. Our night of painful exhaustion ends with him begging no more. I make him act out a parody of love, and we kiss goodnight. The following week, Declan comes in, as pleased as he can be, until he sees a loyal Kev cuddled up next to me, smiling, and I call him over and send my pet to buy him a drink. Declan responds to my betrayal with mirth. I didn't think you had it in you. Well, now Kev has it in him. Laughing, Declan sits. Kev is stuck in a line for drinks. A nagging thought slips out. Did I ever have a chance? You might have, if you stood up for yourself. And here I thought that it was because I was a Pacific Islander. No, it's really 'cause you're the first gay man that I've ever met who's extra. I chuckle. Clearly, I lean in. I never know when to quit. Sounds like it. Declan smiles at my advance. He lets me kiss his cheek, but does nothing when my lips part sweet. So I slide the rest of the way and kiss lips to smother a distant pain. Chuckling, he pulls me back to search for my conscience. But Kev already dug his grave, and I'm not marrying a butterfly either way. We leave separate, but come together fast, and I show him more than appreciation. I like the stylization of this piece specifically. And you open, it's also very hard to imagine a bear with a moth and a monarch. But the building tension and the bear taking back the confidence, but also specifically the stylization of this piece is very interesting. Very interesting choice. But that's the fun in, I think, the LMIAY, especially the weirder, not the weirder, but like the more abstract LMIAYs, where it's like, just seeing what people do when given the same prompt and how they interpret it. So those are all of the LMIAYs that we are reading this month. Thank you everybody for submitting. With that said, check out next month. Let me know what your favorite was down in the comments below. Hope you had a good time. Celebrate your fellow creative, or just, you know, if you're not somebody that's normally creative but you enjoy the creativity, I appreciate, even if I don't necessarily like everything that goes out and I complain about stuff all the time, it exists. So, you know, there's that. There is a lot of nuance when it comes to talking about the subject. I'm going to leave that there, though. With that said, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a great week. Have a great, happy September, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out?
The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross. Is he in trouble? We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him.
Cross isn't a killer. For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die. Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Way. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry. Flickers black and black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?